Welcome, everybody, to our Industrial Advisors podcast. You have Bill Condon and Matt McGregor here today. And today's topic, we are going to cover nearshoring. And we have an industry expert and our colleague, Mark Lewkowitz, out of our Collier's San Diego office to join us today. And there's no better person, in our opinion, to talk about this topic than Mark. Mark is an industry veteran, and since joining Collier's in 2016, has won numerous awards. He's been a top 5 producer in the San Diego region, been the CoStar Power Broker Award every year, been named to the San Diego Business Journal Top 40 Under 40, the San Diego Daily Transcript Top 40 Under 40, and has won the San Diego Business Journal Deal of the Year on numerous occasions. So knows that market inside and out. And at home, he has a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old and enjoys spending time with his wife and family outside of the office. So a very busy man. But Mark, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'm glad to connect here. And, you guys are the best of the best. And we have some crossover clients between markets, and hear nothing but good things about you guys. So excited to kind of collaborate and catch up on this.
Great. Thanks for joining the show, Mark. It's great to have you on. It was great meeting you in Tennessee. And maybe just for the listeners to get to know you a little bit, tell us about the first car you ever owned. How'd you get it? And tell us what it was.
Oh, man. The first car I ever owned, it was a 1993 Pontiac Grand Am. And my friends and I called it the Grand Damn It. It was emerald painted with a trailer hitch, and had way too many of the kind of flavored tree hanging smells of coconut all throughout the felt blue leather seats. So it got me A to B, and that's all I needed at the time.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for joining us.
You don't take that car on tours anymore, huh?
No, but the first few years, were interesting. Parking the car I had 2 blocks away before meeting any property owners.
Been there.
Yeah. But
the good old days. Yeah, it's before you drove that before you won all those awards. So yeah, you probably drive something a little different now. But it is great to have you on. So thank you for taking the time. Everybody loves San Diego, right? San Diego is such a great city, but would love to have you describe the industrial market there and how it's changed over the years, because it's changed pretty dramatically over the years. So talk a little bit about the market overall and how it has changed.
Yeah. So the economy in San Diego is driven by 3 things: tourism, which I'm sure you guys know, the defense, the Navy, and then the biotech industry. So those 3, strong catalysts to this market did okay throughout the pandemic. We had 2 out of 3 that were strong: biotech and defense. The Navy continued to need their ships, updated and well kept, so they were doling out contracts pretty consistently. And then the biotech industry throughout COVID had quite a few different growth patterns there, whether it was a group doing testing kits or some sort of testing in general for COVID. It really blossomed in the industrial sector. So the San Diego region as a whole is about 140 million square feet. So it's not huge. And then the area that I focus on and that we may talk about today here is kind of South County San Diego, which is Otay Mesa, Chula Vista National City, and that consists of 30 million square feet. So since I started in 2008, it has changed considerably. I kind of joke with people, I used to not be popular. Now all of a sudden I'm popular, working industrial real estate down there. But it was a 26% vacancy rate at the peak in 2008.
Wow.
So very, very challenging. And, kind of when I started, I remember meeting with the managing director of the office, and, the goal was, okay, Mark, you need to focus on a product type. You need to focus on area. And I asked him, I said, well, what area in the county do no brokers like to work? And he said, Otay Mesa. I said, great. So I started kind of, focused on this area in Otay Mesa in 2008 with such this, high vacancy rate. And it was tough sledding the first few years, very, very challenging. Starting out, you guys remember getting a tour or getting a principal to come meet with you, you get very excited, if you're going to set up the building for the tour. So you have no disposable income at the time. You're just starting out. You're doing whatever you can to kind of mirror your client. So I remember going down to, Ross and Marshall's and getting my first suit at the time and, throwing that thing on and probably didn't fit too well, probably a little oversized, probably looked like mall security, wearing that thing and trying to show the building. But the challenge was with that 26% vacancy rate. I would set these buildings up for these tours and be so excited for the principal to be there. And then as I'm setting it up, I'd get a call about 10, 15 minutes before the meeting, and the client would say, "Hey, you know what? I'm sorry, this is just too far of a drive," or "My client unfortunately wants to be in more central San Diego." But how Otay changed considerably was, basically four main factors since 2008. The first is kind of e-commerce, warehouse distribution channels. The fact that the reliance on how we warehouse became very popular for Otay Mesa, because Otay Mesa had the newest product type in San Diego. It had the 32-foot clear heights, the 210-foot truck courts, whereas in central San Diego, which is obviously more centrally located and easier to access, you had the 18-foot clear heights, the older warehouse product type with 135-foot shared truck courts, just kind of, very challenging product. So the e-commerce distribution, really helped my market. There's a new freeway that allowed some great access into Otay. And then, of course, you guys well know the big A, Amazon came in there. They recently put up 3.4 million square feet. They're in escrow for 60 acres across the street. They're doing 500,000 square feet catty corner AMZ XL, and then AMZL across the street. And they just leased 250,000 square feet. So it's amazing, what Amazon did to my market as well is that put a legitimacy on it. The capital and the groups that kind of want to be close to Amazon allowed for a lot more investment into the market as well. And then the other, change is nearshoring.
Let's talk a little bit about nearshoring. Just for the listeners, let's define just a couple of terms on microeconomics. Nearshoring, offshoring, onshoring, and reshoring are the four. Obviously, offshoring is a company just moving to typically a third world, but now many parts of the world to do all their manufacturing offshore. Onshoring, obviously, keeping it in the United States or growing it. And then the two trends that are happening in a dynamic way, which we're going to take a deep dive into, is nearshoring, which is obviously Mexico and Canada moving manufacturing nearshoring. And then the other thing that's going on a major trend that we'll touch on is reshoring, which is really many firms, 76% in a recent article I read, are relocating or planning on relocating out of China and all over the world. I was surprised to read. So Mark, now that we've defined these terms, the two things that are impacting your market statistically are reshoring, so companies leaving, say, China, mostly China, and nearshoring in Mexico. So tell us about that. How is that affecting your market, and what cities in Mexico?
Yeah, Tijuana has been absolutely on fire. It is a 0.2% vacancy rate for industrial space there.
Wow.
The Tijuana market, Laredo, Brownsville, all of the border related markets are just absolutely booming right now as it relates to demand for industrial space, which in turn has led to a lower vacancy rate in my market. What happens is a lot of these products that are made in Mexico can only go a certain number of miles past the border before they have to be packaged and shipped from a U.S. warehouse. So Otay Mesa has had a large catcher's mitt as it relates to cross-border 3PL distributors desiring warehouse space to accommodate such booming growth in the trend you're describing, Matt. And we've obviously never seen vacancy rates higher, never seen more absorption in the market, and never seen such a lower annual increases.
And from a developer perspective, is it just a land grab down there? Is the spec buildings? Are they build-to-suits? Talk to us about that. What's the activity look like?
Right. It is a frenzy for land. To find finished land in San Diego is very, very challenging. California makes it also very, very difficult from a development standpoint to go from raw to finished. So right now in Otay Mesa, there's virtually no land available for sale. There's probably only 4 parcels greater than 10 acres that you could potentially build on some land. And most of those parcels are raw pieces of land. So if you're not already slated to develop or in the game or under construction, it's going to be a challenge to get your building off the ground in the next 2 to 3 years. So right now, I'd say that the majority of the buildings that are being built are spec, larger, big box distribution buildings, and those are getting leased prior to C of O, certificate of occupancy. Those are getting snatched up right away.
So you talk about, Mark, all that activity and record low vacancy rates and rates are going up and accelerating. Who are a couple examples of companies that have gone to that Otay Mesa market as a result of nearshoring?
Yeah, it's really going to the Tijuana market and then hiring out a 3PL or a distributor or a customs broker to move their product after they've located Tijuana. But some of the companies that have nearshored, you've heard of TaylorMade Golf, Plantronics, Bombas socks, Pura Vida bracelets, Samsonite luggage, Motor Car, Parts of America, GoPro, and Panasonic. Those are all groups that have kind of left their operations in China and moved to Tijuana for manufacturing.
What are you hearing about labor in your market? Because all we hear across the United States is every market just really labor constraint. What are you hearing in San Diego and Tijuana?
In San Diego, there is it's very challenging to find good labor. I think from what I've been told from a lot of the decision makers and business owners in San Diego is that the labor is continuing to ride out the unemployment and the COVID unemployment. And it's hard to bring these guys back to work considering they're getting a check each day staying at home. So on the San Diego side, labor is a challenge to find. But on the Mexico side, the labor is plentiful. It's amazing that from what I've been told that the Mexico labor wages are now cheaper than those of China, which has been a catalyst and decision making for a lot of these companies to nearshore in Mexico.
It's interesting to your point on the availability of labor in Tijuana and Mexico in general, and what that's obviously the main reason for the nearshoring there. I was recently watching Peter Zion, who's spoken at several different Colliers events, and it was interesting to learn that China is actually now the oldest population ever recorded. And within this century, their population will drop to 45% of what it is now. And they have the oldest labor force. So one of the big reasons for the pull out of China is over the next 10 years, you're going to have the largest retirement base in the history of the recorded world in China, with a very small labor base in China to support it. And so not only do we have trade wars and some political issues, but you've got American manufacturers recognizing that they need to outsource that to other countries. And specifically, Mexico, above any other country, has the number one workforce. It's a super young and dynamic labor pool, and companies are taking advantage of it at a record rate. And in 2019, Mexico became our number one trading partner. And if Peter Zion is right, in our lifetime, they will not give that up. That will only grow. Mark, do you see a lot of companies continuing this trend? And are you picking up demands? Are you directly working with any of those companies related with seeing those trends convert over to Mexico?
I have seen those trends. I haven't worked specifically with one company that's packed up and left from China to Mexico. I do collaborate with the Tijuana team, and they are seeing that weekly. And the challenge with it's happening. It's here. These port related and border related cities will continue to thrive, and I think it's just a matter of time, before more and more continue to come. The 0.2% vacancy rate does make things challenging and interesting. It's unbelievable. So, I think that the physical reestablishment, like you're talking about, of those buildings and those processes, and hiring the people, it won't happen overnight, but it is happening slowly and surely. And the transitional cost and setting up a brand new manufacturing plant does take some time, but with the wheels rolling and turning, it's happening. It's here.
Yeah, so lots going on, obviously, in your market. Obviously, already a lot of changes. But what are your predictions for the San Diego market over these next few years?
Right. I, there's nothing, no more land left to build. There's no more space left to develop. We're going to have 1 million square feet of vacant product coming available here in the next 6 months. Some of the decision makers that own this product have asked, do you think it'll get absorbed? And I do. I think that it'll all get leased before it's ready to be built. We've never seen more absorption, and we've never seen more construction, but the outlook is strong. Being strategically located, so close to this trend we're talking about in Mexico, San Diego is going to thrive. The South County will continue to thrive, and it's the vacancy rate will continue to decline.
Sounds like a lot of markets on the industrial side.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, we want to thank you. It's been a great topic. It's going to be interesting to watch your market, to obviously watch Mexico, not only in Tijuana, but in general, continue to see this nearshoring effect hit their economy, and how that helps our supply chain issues that we're experiencing all over the country. We just want to thank you. This was a dynamic podcast. We appreciate you being our guest today, and wish you well.
Thank you, guys. No, I appreciate it. And I love hearing about you guys and what you're doing, and look forward to collaborating with you again on something soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark.